where did beCreatives come from?
We were so driven and so like, okay, we're going to do this. We didn't know what it was going to be. We just thought we are going to edit people's videos. We didn't even have a website. And currently we have the whole beCreatives team is over 100.
I know beCreatives is sort of an evolution of what you did before, but like of what kind of got you to that place, how you found your entrepreneurial spirit.
When you don't succeed, you have tomorrow and you do it and you're not afraid and you risk. Like all business things I learned literally just by doing simple businesses, like when I was 20, 21 already.
I started the podcast and then I needed help with video. And I've worked with Upwork and Fiverr. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We found beCreatives through an Instagram ad. And I'll have to say, it's been such a great experience. I'll do a golf clap emoji. You've got this vision in your head and you're pushing it through to that sort of brings us to where we're at now. You and the team have built something great. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Where are you now? Do you have that sexy background?
No, this is real. This is in my office. So I'm back in Atlanta this week. So settled. This is like boys are in school.
Okay.
It's quiet.
I'm
getting caught up.
Daddy can work,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So it's good.
Did you drop them off already?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, William takes the bus, which he was so excited ever since he was little. He wanted to take the bus, and so now he gets to take the bus. And
Thank God, right?
I know. So he takes the bus, and then I go right, and I take Matthew. And Matthew's in a little sort of like it's one of these schools where they start as an infant, but then they go up to all the way to kindergarten, and it's a kind of a full day, so he can go in at 7:30, and then they do playing and naps and everything, and then I go get him about 4:30 or 5. So it's nice that he gets kind of a full day, and so do we, which is great. So
Very nice.
Yeah, and you've got kids, right?
Yeah, I have 3 children.
Oh, amazing. What ages?
It's 4 after 4 right now p.m. So they're school finishing. So before I jumped on here, I kind of try to arrange the logistics of it so they don't storm inside 20 minutes later.
Totally.
So I
had that for yesterday.
I hope it works. If they storm
all good. If it doesn't, it's flavor. It just adds flavor to the whole thing. I had a meeting yesterday, and I was in it, and I'm getting really passionate about it, whatever. And all of a sudden, you see off camera, you see this little finger, and I turn, and he's like, "Can you get Paw Patrol on my iPad?" I'm like, "Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back." Like, just give me. It wasn't bad as when the pandemic started, and everyone wasn't as used to it. I remember being in my office, and I was doing a presentation to a company, and right off camera my son comes on. He's like, "Daddy, I gotta poop," and I'm like, "Hey everyone, I'll be right back, like just give me a second." So anyways, I feel like we're a little more used to that. Maybe not that example, but like we're a little more used to that.
Funny that you say that, Kyle. I had almost an identical story. It was when the live videos very popular. I was hosting a show with one of my friends for her Facebook page with like 4 million followers and stuff. So it was huge. And so I'm like, got on the live and start talking. And then my son from the bathroom, "Mommy, I pooped."
Nice.
Like we had the microphone. I don't know. Like everybody heard, and they're like, engagement was actually was very good. But
all of a sudden the chat changes, and there's a lot of like clapping emojis and a lot of like fireworks and party emojis. Yeah. Amazing.
Unintentionally successful.
Exactly. Well, it's funny. I think about like what brings us here. I starting Stackless, a couple of months ago, and then I started the podcast, and then I needed help with video. And I've worked with a lot of different people from, Upwork and Fiverr and Contra and things like that. But, from an onboarding overhead perspective, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And, and sometimes that takes a lot of time and effort. And so I think we found beCreatives through an Instagram ad. and probably somehow Instagram and Facebook, listening to me in the background, being like, I gotta find some help with video editing. Um, and I'll have to say, it's been such a great experience, like onboarding with you all, and clearly is I'll do a golf clap emoji is so great, and it's so nice to be able to have someone in Slack with us. And I feel like the whole process has been just amazing. So I'd love to, like, as we kick things off, almost go back to where did beCreatives come from? I guess starting from, you know, um, back early in your history, like what led to the point of starting beCreatives, and then I think after that we'll sort of touch a little bit on. I want to hear the early days, the early sort of scrappy, like things are broken, they're not working, but you've got this vision in your head and you're pushing it through to that sort of brings us to where we're at now.
Okay, well, I don't even know where to begin because we started
Well,
also.
let's go back to, like, I would be super interested in hearing sort of your story, and I've read some in my research going back to what got you to the entrepreneurial spirit and your upbringing and sort of early jobs and things like that. But I guess you know let's go back to what kind of what is it in your makeup and your DNA that sort of got you to the place where you started? I know beCreatives is sort of an evolution of what you did before, but like of what kind of got you to that place, starting with how you found your entrepreneurial spirit.
Funny, I never thought myself of two things: being an entrepreneur, being creative. Never ever in my life, because
Yeah.
I grew up in a family of both teachers, and my mom was a principal, my dad and a teacher, and my dad was a teacher. I was in the same school, so I was always kind of thought, okay, you finish high school, you go to university, and then you do your all the degrees possible that you could get in the world. You just study, 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 and then you get a job.
Hmm.
So you work and you provide for your family. That's stable income, no risk, no business, nothing. So that was my mentality. And when I was in uni, I went. My first kind of adventure was I went to Erasmus program. I went to Scotland, and that's when my kind of eyes opened. There's more to the world. And then a year after, I went to United States. So I'm originally from Lithuania, so that's where I was born. And I would say my entrepreneurial journey started in the United States as an immigrant, surviving, and I think as many
Hmm.
did, just being put in a situation, hard situations where you have to survive, figure out, and see others do the same thing pretty well. You really get inspired, and you really get in the zone and try to do something. So very quickly, when I was there in States, I realized I want to create something. And it didn't start with anything online. It just was, I was waitressing, and then I was things like creating my cleaning business, with the
Hmm.
driving around and dropping off flyers, creating cleaning business, creating like wholesale retail businesses in the malls. And actually, me and my husband, then we had a restaurant selling pizza,
Oh
um,
wow.
Philly cheesesteaks, burgers, like you name it. So the entrepreneurial thing was born definitely in the United States.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like I have a feeling we're a bit of a kindred spirit. I've always, when I was a kid, I always used to, people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I was like, I want to be a detective and a sniper and an inventor, and you know what I mean? Like anything, I just, all these things that I wanted to do. And it sounds so interesting, that essentially you were trying all these different things and you got all this different experience in different, in different kind of industries and services.
And I always say this was my education. This was my
Hmm.
best business schools, best, programs. I learned sales while waitressing. I learned marketing, just creating pizza, boards and stuff, and seeing what gets people's attentions,
Hmm.
creating pricing while, like daily menu or something. Like I learned when you don't succeed, you have tomorrow and you do it and you're not afraid and you risk. Like all business things I learned literally just by doing simple businesses from very kind of like when I was 20, 21 already. So
Nice.
all this stuff then I applied to, digital world.
I think it's going to be so interesting for the next generation. I think about how I would frame this for my two boys, William and Matthew, and how different it is than it was framed for me by my parents. And the idea that, my mom worked for my dad. He was a doctor and he had his own practice, and he did that for 45 years. But it was pretty routine, right? It was a fairly standard. He would get up and go play racquetball in the morning, and then he would go to work, and he'd come home and we'd eat, and then he would make calls to his patients, and then he would watch a little bit of a Western or a Kevin Costner movie, and then he'd go to bed. And like it was pretty, but it was like that for 40, 45 years. And so different. That's where me coming up, getting all of that, like your your school transcript from high school. I mean, it's got to be just right, and your college has got to be right, and your resume that stays with you forever. Like this idea of these like transcripts and these resumes, they stay with you forever, and you don't want to be seen as someone who just job hops and who isn't trustworthy and predictable. But I ended up doing so different, right? I would go somewhere and I would learn something, and I would be there for 6, 8 months, and I would learn sales, and then I'd be like, great, I got this. And then I would go somewhere else and I would learn something else. And that resume like doesn't, and I think we learn when we're older, like it really is whatever you want it to be in terms of how it's presented. But not being afraid to just try lots of different things and almost make the journey more about collecting those learnings, so that it sort of culminates in something later down the line and not being worried about it.
I agree with it like 1,000%. And being not very humble, I believe that my biggest, my best feature, characteristics is that I'm not like super smart or super like, intelligent or something. I am, but like not super. I'm better at just being bold and doing things. And if they fail, I don't see that as a failure. I do it again. I try and I want to learn. Like I learn and
Hmm.
learn. And like you say, you learn. Okay, I need something else. I need something else. Or you see the people that are smarter and you finding them and having them help you do the things that you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, and pushing through, I think what sometimes is for me, it was fear of family and family, not judgment, but just sort
Yeah.
of the mentality of like, well, what you're gonna go start this new thing, and but what if it doesn't work out? And when you're young, that rattles around in your brain a lot, but then when you're older, you're like, I guess it won't work out then, but I'm gonna go figure that out. And it's like, but that's okay. And not being sort of, of doing the insurance and the insulation like at the
Mm.
get-go, and being like, I've got to be really, really worried about this not working out. I think you almost get more brazen, and it's like you punch through a wall that other people don't, when you're willing to just go, I don't know, but I'm running really fast in this direction, and we're going to see where it takes me.
Yeah.
I think that's where you end up sort of pushing further past most people, and what they're sort of willing to kind of tolerate from a fear perspective.
Because I see that as a continuity. It's not failing at something. Okay, it stopped, it doesn't work anymore, but something else comes out of it. So this is actually the story of my, career. I started a blog and that, was okay, but didn't, was super successful. I started another one, and that another one
Hmm.
kind of leaded me to video. And like, so it's everything continues with something. It's never the end, never you finish at something and there's nothing after. There's something after all,
Right.
as long as it's
Yeah.
on top.
Absolutely. So what was that like? What was preceding beCreatives? What was the thing right before that you were focused on, before beCreatives in its current form sort of started to take shape?
Okay, so after all these crazy businesses that we had, me and my husband, we had then we started having children. We have two kids then, And it was very early on, was very clear to me that I wanted that dream where we all spend more time together. I remember I was living in North Carolina, Asheville, very beautiful place. And my husband was working, and I used to come with to both my small children, and I used to see this family every day in the park, young family, both husband and wife and their two children. Tuesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, like any day that you come, anytime. And I was like, and this was not the car that they arrived, fancy car, or not the house that they lived in. Like, to me, the luxury of the house, of the life, the quality life meant Tuesday afternoon in the park, the whole family, Monday morning going reading books together with your kids or something. Like, that was such a luxury to me. And back then my husband was working like 14-hour days, 7 days a week, because we had like this, crazy business that he had to be in certain location. And I went, and one day I met that family. I introduced myself, and I was like straightforward. You know how in the United States it's very easy to find friends. Just walk up and say, "Hey, I like you."
Let's get coffee. Let's hang out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, but I was very straightforward. I was like, "What do you do to be able to do this?" And they were kind enough to just really, be very open and share with me the things they were doing. So this was, so now this was about 12 years ago. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so the blogging, the website thing, niche website things were a thing back then. And, when you hear things like that from a real person, they become more real and you really get inspired. And this is when I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that. I'm at home. And this definitely didn't sound like a scam, or like I didn't have to be
Right.
like, very educated in this thing. So he showed me a lot of things. Then I started a blog. I started writing a blog. I started learning things. I would put my kids to bed at 9, and I used to just get this big cup of coffee, just stay up till like 3 a.m. just researching, learning, writing, coding a little bit, just learning things,
I love
and
it.
it was. And I didn't have no business plan, no kind of like, I did like keyword research and things like that, but I was just doing things because I wanted to learn so much. I thought this was the coolest thing ever. And all I wanted to earn enough so my husband could be with us. He wouldn't have to hustle and to work so hard. Yeah. So this kind of blogging time happened. I went through like 2-3 blogs. And again, this was so natural because the first blog was about parenting. It was, I was going through that stage. I needed information about that. I was researching about that. So it was about, parenting. And then when the kids grew a little bit, then it was, okay, well, they're bigger now. And I was going through a very natural stage where I threw away TV and the screens. And then it was activity blog. We were making toys from cardboard and playing all kinds of games, as a family. And I then started recording videos because I was like, okay, blogging, it's fun, but like it's not my natural kind of thing because English was not my first language. And I started kind of making videos, and I started editing them, and they were pretty fun. And it was just the beginning of Facebook, all these videos and stuff. I started editing, and then they kind of they did pretty well. I had like 10 million views, and like all these
Nice.
videos, yeah, they took off pretty good. And then I was in blogging communities, and people start asking, so how do you make those videos? You're not. And then it was very, very natural thing. I was like, okay, here's a group. I'll teach you, without thinking that anything will come out, because we were so friendly,
Right.
sharing things. I will teach you. I will show you. And then the people were like, well, just take my credit card. Like, can you teach me more? It was one of those.
That's a good moment. Please take my credit card.
Yes, yes. And then I created a little subscription. No, I created a course first, viral video formula, where I just, what I knew, I shared. And that was created as well. Kind of like, well, I gathered people in the group. They bought the course, and I created each module week by week, just depending on what they needed. I thought this was the best way. And again, this didn't come from any marketing book or any education. This is what I felt.
Trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. I'm like, I want this. Okay, let me create that. And that I kind of still got a good structure. And and then they learned how to film those videos. And then automatically they wanted kind of more ongoing support, because videos are, one thing. You need support, you need ideas, you have technical difficulties while you edit and all those, the programs change and everything. And then I created naturally a subscription because they needed that.
Yeah.
So with the subscription, after some time, I realized that I'm doing a disfavor to them, because these women, and mostly women, they were business owners as well. They were creating something. They were monetizing their platforms. And if you need to spend, 5 hours editing simple video, and like, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to go far with that. So then they were start asking, can you edit? Or for us, can you find us somebody that could edit the videos? And I was like, well, okay, well, maybe let's do it. Let's edit. And then
that one moment though, that like, let's edit. When was that in the journey of sort of the courses to support? Like, how far in did that moment come where you had that, you sort of turned a corner into let's focus on editing for other people?
Well, I think I was doing the course for a year, and then the membership, maybe a year as well. And then, like I said, I never even thought about it. They would just start asking, because maybe the videos start getting more, I don't know, complicated, or those specific people that were in my membership, they grew their business a little bit. They could already afford, hiring out. And that's when they was like, okay, well, let's do it. And then at that time, I realized that I can't, and I don't want to do it alone. And I invited my sister-in-law. Back then, she was just my brother's girlfriend that I've never even seen her. We just
Nice.
chatting online, but I see very big potential in her, and we both started beCreatives. The funny thing is that we were so driven and so like, okay, we're gonna do this. We didn't know what it was gonna be. We just thought we're gonna edit people's videos. We didn't think very far, and for the first, I believe it was like 2 weeks, maybe shorter than that, we literally edited the videos, and it was like 10-hour days, 12-hour days. And after 2 weeks, we were like, well, no, that's not gonna work.
Right.
That's not scalable. And, this is not why we creating this, so we could just be in the videos 12 hours a day, even though we loved editing, we loved the creative part. But if we needed to help more people, like, we wouldn't be able to do it. So very, very quick in this process, we started hiring out.
Who was the first hire? Do you remember, like, that first? How did you find them, and who was the first person to come into the team?
I do. I was actually talking to him. He was our first hire, first fire, and first rehire.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah, he turned out a very good person. He was just very young in the beginning, and he was trying to figure out things. So he was still living in the dorm when we had his first interview. And actually, funny story, we started beCreatives kind of like 2019, hitting kind of like 2020 when the COVID started. So most of our hires were, literally all of it, were done on Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we never met anybody in person for like 2 years, probably. We
I know,
built
that's
a company.
global teams these days. It's so different.
Yeah, so we found him probably in one of the local ads in school or something. We went to like, online the groups and stuff, and we just posted an ad kind of. It was very, very basic, very basic. nothing fancy. And then second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then little by little, this is how we built up. And currently we have about, well, the whole beCreatives team is over 100, like 103. Yeah. And then I think
That's
that
amazing.
counts editors around like 70, 80 editors.
And how was the process going from when you went from 1 to 3 to 5 to, like, do you remember those early periods of starting sort of the operational processes and documentation and onboarding, and that early going from you and your sister-in-law and one other person to starting to scale up? How did that process go?
I am very, just, I don't know how to call, like, loose person. Like I'm flowing.
Yeah, you're
And
just flowing with the river. Yeah, you
yeah,
and me both.
and Ronetta, my business partner, the CEO of beCreatives, she's very process driven. She's the one who was just like, we need processes, we need processes, we need processes. That's why,
Nice.
yeah, she's the one that was building all the processes. But in the beginning, like right now, I remember, and we always joke about it, when we used to kind of, so the editor, we used to teach the editors, that me and her, we used to teach them how to edit, how to add these engaging elements, because the editor back then, it was more that they were like more of this, maybe the slower pace editing, maybe more
Mm,
cinematography type of editing, not social media editing. So we needed,
right.
now it's very, all of them are like that, and they know what's TikTok, what's real, how to add all those things. A few years ago, it wasn't like that. Where they came from, all the backgrounds, the editor was the one that like had their professional edits done, and they didn't know all the fancy stuff, and they actually didn't like that. They thought that was cheap.
Right.
So we were teaching them, and then I remember when they had, we before every video, we would give back to the client. We would, me and Ronetta would just go through we would record, review Loom videos, and
Hmm.
and there were like
Oh,
10
the invention of
long.
Loom just changed everything, but to be able to sort of just quickly record yourself doing that and pass that along to somebody was amazing.
Yeah, until we found frame.io, where you could just comment on
Yeah.
things, so like a lot of things we didn't know. But as we went, very, in businesses like agencies, processes are everything. If you don't have them, very
Hmm.
quickly, you can just really fall down and lose everything. So building process was huge, and Ronetta did a very good job, and we continue building them. It's funny how, when you are from 1 to 5, from 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 50 to 70, they all change the processes, and
Right.
the type of clients that you have, that changes as well. So we are always in the process of building processes. I
Yes.
feel like it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Those sort of benchmarks are so interesting when it's only a couple of people and you can really get by. We're at only about 8, but we're still at that place where everyone is sort of tapped into the mission, and everyone's really close to sort of the brand and what we're trying to do, that we're still so light. We have a 30-45 minute meeting on Mondays, and then the dev team has 2 15 minutes, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. That's it for everybody. Like everything else is really just Slack and quick audio huddles, but it's so nice being so sort of free from all the sort of overhead in the process. I've been on the other side of that, right? At like 100,000 person companies where there's so many meetings all day and it's just talking about the things that need to get done. And it's nice to be at this, but we can just start to see the pieces that we need to sort of get built out and to automate to sort of get better for when we add another 5 or 10 people. So we're just starting that now, but I really love those early periods where everyone's just kind of mind melded with everyone else, and there's not a need to sort of have like how-to docs and the to-do list is small enough that everyone goes, no, I got it, and they knock it out and everything's great. So but I love that evolution.
This is the sweetest thing in the business, I believe. The very beginning of it, when like you described, is when you know everything, when you control everything, when there
Yeah.
it is very sweet time. But unfortunately, as much as I don't like the processes, they are needed when you have these many people working and from different time zones, different backgrounds, different things that they're doing. Um,
Hmm.
it's in all the meetings that we have before actually the meetings. It's always in the back of my head. Can we automate it? We need a process. Usually there's process already, but can we change it? Something is not working. Can we make it easier?
Right.
Can we make it better? It's always, that question in the back of all of our minds now. And the team thinks the same way now. They just need process, process, process. Sometimes, especially when we change, I don't know, we are changing now into a different CRM. Um,
Hmm.
so that's huge. So kind of new processes are being added. Old ones are thrown out, and we figuring out, okay, how can we make it better? So just revisiting them and rejudging them again, I guess, is also very, very beneficial. What we see now.
Yeah. How many people are local and how many people are global? Is it still pretty much majority global distributed team?
Uh, Still, I would say, good question. I haven't checked that lately, but I would think it's about 60-40, 60 local here and 40
Mhm.
global. Um, we have an office here in Lithuania, in Vilnius, where, not too many of us come here, but we meet a few times a week.
Mhm.
Mostly not the editors, but the rest of the team, the business management. And that has been actually surprisingly good. And I was the one, again, the flowy one without the office, working from
Right.
the car, working from kids' tennis tournament, working from I've worked the craziest places. I worked, really, like I would top it, like the craziest places I worked. Once I worked in the hospital bathroom. I had sales call.
Oh. Oh wow. Yeah.
Uh,
I know those. You find yourself just basically you want to keep the engine going, you want to keep the machine running, and wherever you are, you're like, okay, I'm going to make this work, and I'm going to,
yeah, yeah.
propping up a computer somewhere and trying to get it positioned just right so it seems okay, and getting
It was
everything done.
it was the crazy time that I was going through when we were building beCreatives. I was doing sales. Okay, we were, because most of our, probably you went through the same thing. You get on a call, and then this is how we chat, and we tell about what we have, and we try to ask you questions, and so I was the one that was doing the calls, and my husband was going through chemotherapy. He was having a treatment, and so he had the room, and then if you ever heard the treatment, it makes this annoying noise every, I don't know, 10 seconds or 15 seconds, like
Hmm.
beep, beep.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I cannot be in this room, but like in the bathroom, the noise was a little bit less, and the bathroom was nice, thankfully, but
Right.
the noise. Okay, so I would, so crazy. I would try to say in these 15 seconds what I needed to say, and then mute
Oh
myself,
wow.
have the person speak, and then try to unmute myself, say something, and then try to mute it back, try to match
Oh my
the
goodness.
sound of the chemotherapy machine.
Yeah. Oh
But
my goodness.
I had a very good close rate.
Yeah. Oh wow. That
Yeah.
that is that's such a story. Like, how was did what was your support like during that period, from a for the company and friend period?
Um,
I mean, you're building your company during such a difficult time.
well, the I So that was, yeah, it was a time. So I wouldn't have made it. I guarantee I wouldn't have made it if I wouldn't have the business partner, Renata. She,
Hmm.
when my husband got sick, well, even like I was trying to keep up with all the things because it was the building time. Obviously I was still doing sales. We had other people, but I was doing sales, and then she was just took over and was doing most of it. And then when we hired somebody to continue doing sales because I couldn't anymore, she took over and she became CEO, and then she literally did all the things. And my husband did pass away, and
I'm
for
so sorry.
thank you for I don't know, I don't even know now how long I stepped away
Hmm.
from the business, because it was just I had a lot of things to take care of. I had 3 children, and need to build my life back up. And I have this. Even though I wanted to get back, I thought that this would be very like beneficial for me to get back. I have this belief that if you are creating and if you're acting from a red zone, from pain, or from like really stressed full time, nothing good is gonna come out of it. So I kind of stepped away. I used this time to heal, and I will be forever grateful for Ronetta, for my business partner, that she really did. She took everything on her and then did that. That's why having a business partner and building with somebody, you have the support, no matter what, and then you can count on them. And right now she is on maternity leave. And so me and my brother, her husband, we are kind of like trying to hold the wheel.
Right. Yeah. Now
in
you're
the
driving the ship.
Yeah. So
Wow.
the support just goes like this, and having
Yep.
her and she's having me. I think that we have a great, really good combination. And again, this is against the rules. Never create a business with your family, right?
Right.
But it's been what, 5 years now. It's working out brilliant for us. We have different opinions, but we talk it out. We agree, and then I think this complements our business. We both are
Yeah.
quite different. At the same time, we are similar. But for business, I think it's very, very beneficial.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Rules are silly to me.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
agree.
know.
I then, my wife and I, when I was at a big agency and then I left, I've always kind of had a bit of a yin yang, or a roller coaster of being at like a big agency or a big company, and then it doesn't take more than about 2 years, and I end up, I don't know, politics and bureaucracy and all the things, and so I end up setting up my own design and development agency and just sort of doing my own thing for a while. And during one of those periods, my wife she was an actress in New York, and then she was waiting tables when we met. But during one of those periods, she was like, "Well, let me dive in, and I'll start to help." And so she figured out design and development on WordPress and all these sort of things, to the point where 5 years later, I stepped away from one of those businesses, and she just ran it and designed everything and ran the developers and all those sort of
Mm.
things. Um, but we work great together, and so I agree. Like, it's not always the case that working with your family is not good. But um, well, I appreciate you telling the story. I think it's one that I agree. It's hard to sort of build something during some of those periods, and you have to sort of have time to rest. Last year was that year for me. So my mom came down. She had pancreatic cancer, and it didn't take but 3 months. And then she passed in January. And my granddad passed 3 weeks later, who she was sort of taking care of. And so I went through that period of, I think that's what sort of fueled me into building Stackless and doing what I'm doing now. Is I always feel like during those periods, and I've had those periods of loss too, where it sort of it shatters the matrix,
Mhm.
and all the preconceived notions that we have about work and money and what you're supposed to do and social and how you're supposed to be and all these sort of things, and all of that just sort of gets shattered, and then you start to put it back together. and you analyze things in such a different way about what you want and what you want, what you want out of life and what you want. Back to your point about I same thing. That's why, for Stacklist, I want to bring something into the world, but I also want to build something for my family that we've got enough space and time to just go do things and not be rushed. I love Tim Ferriss's idea of sort of being, rich and luxury more being about not being rushed and just doing what you want to do when you want to do it. And so that was mine. I just after that, them passing, and then I hit my 45th birthday, and this thing sort of clicked. I feel like, okay, now I'm going into volume two. If this is a 2 volume, story, I'm heading into volume two. What is it that I want to build and make and do? And the first part of my story was all about building and making for everybody else. And it just sort of went, and I flipped, and I was like, I only want to build and make my own stuff from this point, and sort of be the master of my own destiny in that way, and be around people that I want to be around, and those sort of things. And so, for me, it was going through that period, and when I came out of it, it was like, let's go make something. So, um, there's at least the positive upside there of going through it.
I totally believe there's always a reason, and you're right. You just come out strong out of those things. It's wavy, it's cloudy, it's stormy
Yeah.
in that period, but you come out a lot stronger
Yeah.
if
Agreed.
you're willing to take those lessons and all the experiences.
Yeah. Well, it's so great that you have that support. And what do you see? So where you're at now, what's the next couple of years? Like what do you see as the roadmap for beCreatives, and where do you want to go?
It's an interesting time right now in the world with all the AI stuff coming up, and we're very actually excited. I'm personally very excited to see where it's all going to go. Obviously, if you want to continue, if you want to, thrive, you need to go with it in some way,
Mm-hmm.
and still find your own thing in it. So it's very creative time right now where we're thinking of how we can incorporate all of that, and I believe we can make clients' video creation journey easier, faster, more accurate, even more creative as well. But like that, they would create in bigger volumes, better qualities. But we just have to figure out how they're going to do that without
Mm-hmm.
without losing that personal and human touch, which I believe never will go away. You will always need that. We just have to find that balance where the creator and the editor can meet. I think the AI will speed up the editing processes and will help the creator as well to with everything. So it's very, very exciting time, I think.
Yeah. That's same philosophy on our side. I think it's one that, we're focused on human curation,
Mhm.
sort of for humans by humans, and
Yeah.
and I feel like, not to say it won't ever be the case, but Google in my mind, and also AI, not a tastemaker. Like it can put together pieces of information that it can think based on sentiment and reviews. We think this is a good place, but that has nothing to do with whether it be a restaurant or a hotel or an experience or whatever, what it's like actually doing it and being in that place, and then being able to sort of share that with someone else. And I can see the same thing, from a video perspective. And I love shooting and editing videos myself. There's something about when you're sitting there and you see these moments and you feel these sort of moments that happen in the video storytelling process, and analyzing that. A system can analyze what's happening in the motion. Someone's running, someone's like talking to a camera, and it can sort of take the sentiment and go, someone's happy, someone's sad. But there's something so different about an editor sitting down and sort of feeling that emotion, seeing those a little glimmer or spark
Yeah.
in someone's eye or whatever, and marrying that story up and creating that I almost see it in the same sort of way that the editors use AI as a tool to make the workflow process faster. So you may
Yeah.
be able to process and organize clips and content faster, which is great, but it still comes down to that the editor as the curator of video content, that there's such indistinguishable sort of feelings that someone has when they're watching video, and creating that story, that that you're not going to have AI. And I've used some AI video editing tools, and it's pretty cool, when things get cut together. But it's not that accurate in my mind. I have to go back and sort of like take some things out. And and parts of it are good for very quick messages that you might want to set out, but it's being able to put the soul, of a story into something is what takes that curation, and experience and taste. And I think bringing curation and taste to the process is where I can see that evolution. So same on our side, from a Stackless perspective. The AI is sort of a tool of like ambient,
Mhm.
intelligence, but not the thing that you're not asking it, where should I go to dinner? What you're doing is saying, what is interesting between what my friends have done, and that I can bubble that up, and then I analyze that and sort of share those experiences with someone. So that's really interesting. I can see the AI being a really good tool.
Yes, and I love that because it's like I said, it's gonna make editors' job easier. They will edit things faster with the tool, but they will still need to, touch certain things where AI cannot. And I think
Hmm.
this will be for a long time like that. But definitely the life will get easier for them, and obviously for the creators as well, because they will be able to, you know, maybe get the service cheaper or get more videos edited. So they will be able to monetize more things, sell more things. So it's always a win. Um,
Hmm.
Especially here in Europe, the work and life balance is very, very important. So we always strive in thinking, okay, well, this will save maybe editor like 15 minutes or half an hour or this or that.
Right.
We always dream about 4 day
Yes.
4 day weeks. How awesome would that be? It's still in just dreaming phase, but we here in Europe we really pay attention to those things.
Yeah. No, totally. We've thought about that too, and I really think it's more about like if you can make that time and efficiency, and then you can give back to the team versus, I think making sure that what you don't do is make that efficiency, and then I don't know. There's a bit of a mindset, right? To be like, well, let's see how we can fill up those extra hours, but make it more about, I think, especially creatively, the more time you've got sort of a way to think and process and spend time with family, then,
Yes.
depending on the makeup of the team, you kind of feel like it's one of those um, that if the personality is, okay, this is how I am. I go on vacation and I'll go for a couple of days, but then I'm ready to get back to it. And I'm like, I want to go make and build and do, is having enough of that free time then means that you're excited to get back in and make stuff. It almost makes that concentrated 4 day time sort of even better.
You come back so much stronger, so much more creative, so much
Yeah.
more productive. It's like, this is me. Like if I'm overwhelmed, if I'm stressed, if I'm like upset about something, I try not to do any very important tasks because I know eventually
Hmm.
they'll bite me somewhere
Yeah. No,
and it's
agreed.
not gonna be good. So if you're creating, you should be always in the green or greenish zone. Otherwise, I really believe that, when I look back in all the things that I did in my life, like all the things really worked out very well when I was in the good flow, in the good, that green zone. And the things
Hmm.
that I did out of just, I need to do it and I know I'm not feeling it. Like it's just never. I understand life sometimes becomes, hectic and you just need to do things. But if it's more creative and more, important tasks, this should be always, I believe, done when you're feeling good.
Yeah. Well, so this brings me to my last question. If you had to look back at at how you got here, and with your company and your growth and your the trajectory of your career, is there anything that you would have done different, or anything that you would have, any other paths you would have taken, or um,
Nope.
or no?
No,
Amazing.
no,
Yeah.
like I'm living by my motto is no regrets. Everything is just happened. That means it had to happen like that.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, and that's so interesting for people that are starting out, or thinking about wanting to take the journey, right? I think it's I think I've come to a place where I don't have any expectations about literally like this week, how it's going to go, or next week, or today.
Mhm.
um that I really feel like I'm just riding a river, right? And sort of navigating it, and each time you bump into rocks, or you like, something happens, you get tossed around or whatever, that you're like, okay, how can I learn from that, and what is it? Versus, I think that I think how I was brought up, and it sounds similar to yours, that sort of, let's make sure that everything is safe, and everything's about sort of safety and predictability, that when something goes wrong, it ends up becoming more of a like, see, this is just an indication that it's not going to work out or whatever. And you sort of, you're in that, versus just, I don't know, riding the rapids, and enjoying the journey, and seeing where
Yeah,
it goes. And it feels so much more freeing in my mind.
I totally agree with that. In the beginning, now that I remember, for 1 year, we didn't even have a website.
Nice. That's great.
We didn't have a
Talking
logo.
about
We didn't
breaking the
have a
rules. Everyone's like, you've got to have one or
no.
you'll never succeed. It's like,
No, we were creating that, some now that I think some kind of, like we were testing out the product or something. We weren't. We were just doing what we thought at that moment was good and was logic, and we just moved up. And I'm like, okay, now we need a website. Okay, now we need to go to a conference, maybe look for more clients. And then the COVID hits. I'm like, okay, we can go. What do we do now? Okay, well,
yeah.
let's try ads. Okay, let's try ads. And that's worked out good.
Amazing.
Just like this, how about we create a ad as a TikTok trend, and we're like, okay, well, let's do it. My daughter filmed me actually, and this ad brought us like the first, I don't know, 50 clients or something.
That's amazing.
No
Well,
business
I'm
plan,
glad you ran
no,
ads,
yeah, well,
because that's why we're talking. And that's why I love beCreatives, is
but
because you
you
ran
know
an ad on Instagram.
but the COVID hit, and like, okay, how are we gonna get clients? Okay, but there's wait, let's try ads, and so see, like everything, something bad happens, you're like, okay, no, it's not bad. Like, let me find another way, and then I'm sure we wouldn't be so successful if we just relied on going to conferences and looking for clients just like that. It
Right.
wouldn't be so scalable, I believe. So it actually worked out. It's a bad thing, but you turn it into a good thing. And then that's how we did all the things, with just the very same mentality. I would say that the last couple of years, we with such a big growth, we had to be more, if I would use the word professional, and using, like systems and all the other processes and stuff. But in the beginning was really just very flowy, and whatever seemed right, we did that. Now we read books, we go seminars, we, follow some things already. But back then I was actually, I'm very into meditations and stuff. And when we were just getting like first clients and stuff, I would go into this, I call it decision meditation,
Nice.
where,
Just listening.
yeah, it's just four-step kind of meditation where you clear your mind, and then you feel the gratitude, and then you put an intention, like that's your problem, let's say, what should you do about this and that. And the last stage is where you get the answer, and sometimes answer doesn't make sense, but you still do it. And I had so many occasions where the answer would come. Like, I had this one specific situation where the answer came to me like nothing, one time, long time, right? And I didn't think any of it, more of it. And that was an occasion. I messaged her, hey, how's it going? This and that. And I was chatting. And I was like, oh, I just said this. video editing agency, what are you doing? Like, no expectations, zero. Like, I didn't put any those two things together. And then within like a minute, she's like, "Oh, you said video editing? I was just talking to this guy." And then, and we got within like a minute, I was in a group chat with like the biggest marketing guy, and then he needed a video editor, and we had this huge client for 2 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
so the beginning was like this, a lot of that, and then later we needed some more, professional decision making tools and processes. But I believe like this is what the beginning should be. Like this is how you end up with the right path or whatever. Even though there's no right path, you make the right path. There's so different situations and variations that you can create a business. Even ours, it could have been something very, very different. It's just our lives, our personalities, the people that we hired built beCreatives. The way it is, very unique. You put somebody else, and their situations will be very different, and they will build something very different as well. So it is what it is.
Amazing. I love it. And I love the synchronicity and the intention and the listening. I think that's so important, and I've really tried to focus on that, where giving yourself space to just go back and sort of analyze and listen and feel, and then just, make a decision and go with it and explore that path.
My thing now is because I moved back to live in Lithuania. And we have, I don't know if you ever will visit, or if you hear, if you watch a reel after this, because the Instagram maybe will show you. Lithuania is very green. It has beautiful forests. So I take a 1 day off and I book a little tree house or something in the middle of the woods. Actually, my team gifted me a gift card and a tree house.
Oh, nice.
So this is where I do my planning, my thinking, my meditating, my decision making, and all of that. So, yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking and sharing your stories and the journey. And I'm excited to continue the journey with you as a customer, because I love it. And kudos to the team, because it's a great. I always love looking at user experience and customer experience and the whole piece, and I love it. So you and the team have built something great.
Oh, thank you so much, Kyle, for inviting me. It was a pleasure meeting you last week, and even if it's online. But I hope you the best, and then I hope this is not the last time we chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, happy Monday.
Thank you. You too. We're gonna kill this week, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get it. Let's go flow with the river and see where it takes us.
Yes. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks. You too.